Welcome to Porch Talk with Chris and Laura. I'm Chris, that's Laura, and this is Jamie from 13 Minutes.
Yay!
One of Tulsa's premier metal bands. We've long been a fan, and we've long been friends with Jamie. And on top of that, one of the premier drummers in this town. I'll tell you, he's a step above. And all you drummers out there, you got something to say? Rap battle with this guy on a set of skins. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
so
true.
I love it, buddy. And I'm glad you're here.
I'm glad to be here.
So we're going to start first with, I just want you to kind of go through your evolution of how you got to where you're at. Because not only is your evolution as a musician, in music, but it's an evolution of faith as well.
True.
You found your faith at a later stage in your life when a lot of us find it early in our life and run from it the entire time past that point. So, it's a different perspective. So, explain.
All right, well, I'll try to abridge this. I've been in Tulsa music now. My first show in the city was in 1995.
Okay. Back in the good days.
Back in the good days.
Right.
So, when I was young, naive, wet behind the ears, and it was a cool to play a show.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I came of age in the scene in 97, 98, 99.
Okay.
And if nobody has experienced Tulsa music at that point in time, you missed out. That's all.
It was a great time.
It was a great time.
But it was bad at the same time. Everybody was stabbing each other in the back. Because everybody was getting signed.
We didn't have the community we do now, but the music was great.
Yeah, true.
I think, what's funny is I think it's perspective because, I don't know, maybe it's because I felt like I was in that, what would be considered in.
Okay.
I was spending time with Underside and Bad Guys and all that circle and, kind of where they went is where I was.
Okay.
And so my experience then, was really great. Lockdown, it was cool. It was 25 bands, 2 stages, 2,000 kids out that day.
Yeah.
I have not seen the likes of it since.
Right.
And it was all for local bands.
Yeah.
And you all mentioned that a lot of people were getting signed out of it. Yes, they were.
A lot of people.
That level of talent.
Yeah.
And it was truly an amazing time to be a musician here, at least from my perspective. That being said, there was also some things happening. Sex, drugs, rock and roll.
Right.
Yeah.
Not a new story anymore.
And things turned for the worse eventually.
I liked partying until I flamed out. Let's just put it that way. And
some aspects of that lifestyle were attractive at the time.
At the time, but then there was an awareness of why I was doing the things I was doing, and some deeper issues that I had to address. And one day I woke up, and it wasn't fun anymore.
Yeah.
Okay.
You get tired.
I was tired. I think I flamed out really early. It was one of those things where it's like,
I'm done.
I drank so much in my early 20s that I'm glad I still have a liver, and I'm actually really blessed that I still have a liver.
Right.
But
I don't.
it was one of those things that, Marilyn Manson had that song, I don't like the drugs, but the drugs like me.
Yeah.
Right.
That's how it was with alcohol for me. I don't like the alcohol, but the alcohol likes me.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so I drank a lot, and one day I just woke up and I was just, I don't know, I was different.
Okay.
I was different, and I knew something, I had to change something in life. And, for those who don't know my journey, and this is going to sound loony to the people who don't believe, but I met the man Jesus in my mid-teens. And I met him, I really it was very, very pivotal in my life, but I didn't like church people, okay?
Right.
Yeah.
So, there's a difference between meeting somebody and...
Jesus
I
is
agree.
just alright, but the church people can maybe go.
At that point, and you've heard the story, church people, hypocrites, and
Right.
yada, yada, yada.
Oh.
Again, it's not a new story, but
Right.
through the eyes of a teenager and somebody who didn't know anything about church. I didn't grow up in church. I didn't grow up in faith. I didn't have that background, and to see this kind of almost despicableness with people that I thought were supposed to be of higher character and standard was really disappointing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew that Jesus was there. I met him, but I didn't know him.
Mm-hmm.
I say all that to bring me to my next point. remember, I had a meeting, and in that meeting, I knew he was real. And in kind of this dark place, I really heard his voice. And I won't go through all the details. Just, it was a very critical moment for me as a person, as a human being.
Your personal faith was shocked.
It was one of those things that, like, yeah, Jesus, I don't like your people. I don't like church people. I don't like church. I don't like any of that. But
so why? Right.
Yeah. So, but I said, if you are real,
right,
show me, and I will follow. And as audibles we're talking, I heard it in my spirit. It says, you won't be disappointed. Well, this posed a problem for me, though, because of all the people I hung out with and spent time with, and where I found myself. And I had this stupid, naive idea that I was going to just kind of leave this scene and maybe enter this scene.
Right.
And I said,
it's never not that neat.
No, it's not going to happen. I tried. About every 2 years for the next decade, I started up a band, and that band nosedived. A lot of other things in life happen. I mean, I got married. I've been married. We just celebrated 18 years.
Congratulations.
So I had to learn how to be a husband.
I really want to meet her, by the way.
She's an amazing woman.
Yes,
so she's put up with me for 18, well, 20 years now.
No joke.
Yeah,
she put up with this guy. I mean,
she's
hey,
beautiful.
it's all right.
Well,
she's beautiful no matter what she looks like.
And she's patient. She's patient. She's kind. And you know, she gave me. You know, of course, she made me a better person. And I don't think many of us just get married knowing how to be a husband.
Right.
So I had to learn how to be a husband.
For that matter, yeah.
And I always tell the men, go first. You know, that's hands down.
Yeah.
I mean, we go first. Period. No excuses. I learned that through a process. But so had to learn how to become a husband. Then I became a dad. Or I learned I was going to be a dad, and I didn't have that moment where it was like everybody they hug and they cry together. I turned pale and probably lost feeling. Fainted. Like, oh crap, I'm going to screw this kid up.
I think that's pretty common for dads, though, because you have the weight of it. You have the weight of it on your shoulders.
Yeah.
Well, that was one of those things. Well, I didn't grow up with a dad, so that was part of my back to those issues.
But
that's even worse. Yeah.
So, and I'm like, what am I gonna do with this little human?
Well, you've done a damn good job so far. I tell you that.
He is a good kid. I once again give more credit to his mom. But through this period, I'm walking out faith and learning what it means to be a man of faith, which doesn't just happen.
No, it's a learned process.
Remember, meeting and knowing are two different things.
Correct.
I've met a lot of people. That doesn't mean I know them. I met Jesus, didn't mean I knew him. So I was learning to walk with my Savior. I was learning how to become a husband, and then I was learning to become a father. Then I got the worst possible news in all of that I believe anybody could hear, and I learned that my sister was murdered, and and that right there, and I bring that up not as a way to say, oh, woe is me, but to say, this is where I learned who Jesus was.
Yeah.
Okay.
When I said, if you show me who you are, I will follow.
Yeah.
Well, this was the part he showed me.
Like the light in the ultimate darkness.
It was only by the grace of God that I made it through that season, because I went into a depression, which I thought I was too strong for. A lot of other stuff transpired, wrestling with the death of somebody that I loved, but I never really showed that I loved, and and I always let my anger issues get in the way with our upbringing, and me and my sister was just like this.
Yeah.
And so I wrestled with a lot of guilt and a lot of remorse, and it was the first time that I had really dealt with something of that nature. And there was a lot of stuff that happened in there. Long story short is that only by the grace of God did I make it through that season. And I learned, number one, I'm a lot more frail of a human being than I usually admit. And my need for a Savior grew absolutely just, there was no choice. There was a story in the Bible about the woman who was suffering with the issue of blood. And she was in this crowd of people, and all the doctors had told her, we can't do anything for you. She heard about this man named Jesus, and she said, if I can just touch the hem of his garment, then I could be made whole. And she fought, and she wrestled through this mob, these people that wanted to be around him just to touch the hem of his garment.
And it's not because she eventually did. it's because she had the faith of doing so that she was healed.
She said, I will be made whole.
That's right.
And I was there. If I can just touch the hem of your garment.
Yeah.
But I learned something in that time. And the guy that most people see today was born at that point.
Okay.
And I learned that life is way, way too short to be angry
Yeah.
for a long period of time. And it's really too short to not tell people how you feel.
Yeah.
You know, honestly and openly and even almost embarrassingly tell people how you feel. And find joy in the simple small moments like hanging out at a table with friends.
Yeah.
These are the things that I learned through Jesus that make my life full.
Yeah.
And these are the things that I bring into every aspect of my life. So fast forward, I'm, broken up bands every 2 years. And then 2010, I'm giving up. I'm hitting an age where most people just like...
For a drummer, no. Yeah.
And then one day, a guy that I met a decade earlier, he found me and he said, hey Jamie, we're getting this band back together. And we need a drummer. And I'd seen this band live in that 10-year period. I was like, absolutely friggin' not. I mean, I saw them live and I'm sitting there like, oh my gosh, this is the most horrible crap I've ever heard.
You guys suck that bad? Really?
Music is subjective, it's preferential,
Sure,
I get it.
sure.
I get it. And they were opening for a very large band at that point in time, so I'm like, and he saw the look on my face, and he said, don't say yes or no yet.
Yet, okay.
Take the CD home,
Pause, right.
listen to it, pray about it, and let me know. I'm like, sure, I'll do that. The answer's still no. And I took this disc home, and I told him I would, and I put it in the player, and I'm like, no. No.
No.
I mean, I still got the disc, and I put it in every now and then to remind me.
Still no.
It's still no. I lasted about 30 seconds, and I'm like, this, no. And I was talking about it with Selena, and I'm like, God. I mean, at this point in time, 10 years of no band, it was getting kind of lonely,
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm just reflecting over this. I'm like, God, I hate the music. But I'd love to get back out there. And my wife said something right then that she had never said before, because she'd watched all the struggle and the disappointment and everything of every failed project, and it would have been easier for her to say, well, don't.
Yeah.
And she said, what do you got to lose? And I'm like, who are you? And where's my wife?
Yeah.
You're supposed to say what I want you to say.
What I expect you to say.
Well, what happened next, I did not expect. I thought I was going to go in just kind of as a drummer, do my thing. I wasn't leading the band. It was a already designed outfit, and I was just going to be a drummer.
Okay.
That was my goal. Well, didn't work out that way. So I said yes, and started down this journey. And I'm not going to lie, for the first year, I hated it. I'm sitting like, I loved the guys. The fellas were great. And it was better to play music, with other fellas than it was to sit in your room, and I'm like,
Right.
But I'm sitting there listening and go, God, this sucks.
Well, it could be so much more better.
Yeah. What I didn't see, though, is what God was doing in the process.
Right.
He did answer a prayer. I wanted a band. I wasn't specific on what band, but he provided a band and some dudes that I enjoyed their company. It was meant for a season, and it was meant to get me back out into all that's going on. And that was December 10th, coming up. That'll be 8 years ago.
Wow.
Okay.
That happened. Of course, out of that, a lot of people know me through my work with the Not So Silent Night.
Mm-hmm.
I knew one thing about going into music this time around, that it wasn't intended to be a narcissistic endeavor. I didn't want it to be, hey, look, I'm a rock star. Look how good I am, I play drums.
Right.
I knew that music was a gift, and that gift needed to be given for a greater purpose. And so I was sitting talking to my wife one day, and we were reflecting about what we could do, because I wanted to do something with music. Of course, I was there. It was my tool,
Right.
my vehicle. And so this was in 2011, and we started reflecting back to a Christmas party that we had attended when we were newly married in Houston.
Okay.
And it's funny, the meetings that you have in life that will come back to really change your trajectory a little bit. And we were newly married, moved into Houston, Texas, and knew nobody. And this church we were attending was, they were looking for volunteers for a Christmas party. I'm like, sweet! Christmas party, great! Sign us up. And so we got to this place, and they started giving us all these rules. Like, don't ask the kids about the parents. Don't ask their names. Don't ask about their home life. I'm like, what kind of freaking Christmas party
I
is
mean,
this?
can we not talk about anything?
And they just to be there to listen, be there
Oh.
to enjoy. And I'm like, oh, okay, we're here. And so we got in and we started, meeting the kids and, trying to honor, what was being told of us. And we met a little boy, and he was 8 years old. I know this because he liked to tell you I'm 8 years old. And he loved to talk about all the toys he was excited to get and all the things he wanted for Christmas, and just loved for somebody to listen to him. And he was a very normal kid by most accounts, with the exception of one major difference, and he'd been burned on over 80% of his body by his parents. This kid was a CASA kid, court-appointed special advocates, and this was a CASA party. And that's why we couldn't ask about all this stuff.
All right, that makes sense.
And this young man would later change my trajectory, change my moment. But we were reflecting back, and my wife was like, okay, we know.
We get it.
Yeah.
We know what we need to do. So
Yeah, and now we have a direction.
yes, now we have a direction. So we called Tulsa CASA. And this line on the voice on the other end of the line said, hello. I said, is this Tulsa CASA? I was like, my name's Jamie Kaczynski. Do you guys by any chance have, a Christmas party for kids that you bring in presents? And they're like, yes, we do. I said, well, I'm in a metal band and I'd really like to help.
Take my help, please?
60 seconds of really awkward silence. and she's like,
No, let's count that out. And I'd like to help. Yeah, that's really awkward.
it was awkward.
That's
Time.
awkward.
And
Okay.
that's exactly her response to it. Okay, what would you like? And I'm like, well, here's what I have. And so I started sharing this idea for a concert.
Okay.
And of course, a lot of people know about that concert.
And it
now.
became Not So Silent
It
Night.
became Not So Silent Night. That we went out and mobilized. We had no reputation. The first one was really super special because nobody knew who I was.
Yeah.
Nobody knew who really we were.
Because you're getting back to town on top of that.
So, but in all of that, we had no budget, we had no sponsors, we had nothing but an idea, and for me, the arrogance to believe that I could.
Okay.
And so, I called some friends. At that point in time, we had a brother band named Idify. You might remember them. Idify was amazing. And we had formed a friendship when Far From Sanity had their first show. It was with Idify, and we met the LaForest bunch at that point in time, who we became very good friends with. Jason was really a fulcrum in a lot of what was to come in those early stages. Mm-hmm. He was amazing because he could walk into any venue and not see what it was, but see what it could be. And so he'd go in and he'd just start pointing out all the stuff that we could do. And we turned a lot of different things into concert venues. So we called Idify, and they were like, yeah. And then we called a band out of Oklahoma City. I'm like, well, we need kind of a name, a regional name. And I started looking through all the different bands, because what's funny is every band in Tulsa said no. We got other things to do. Wow. Didn't matter. Got other things to do.
Doesn't matter your genre either.
I mean,
just out.
We got other things to do.
Right.
Now that the tables turned a few years later, where my list grew and everybody wanted to be a part of it, but that first one, I remembered the people that were there. And we called this band, who we'd become friends with later, named Die to Yourself. And Die to Yourself they're amazing guys. They eventually became The Dwelling. And I actually got to meet or befriend the guys from For Today through The Dwelling. Which, it's funny, the 6 degrees of separation. But we hosted this concert. We had a few friends that helped us out. And we brought in 211 presents that first year.
Wow.
And I was like, man, I mean, that's the best we could do. You know, we gave it everything we got, and so I was disappointed. But I loaded them up in my truck, took them down to Costa the following Monday, and got a few advocates to help come unload the truck. And when I popped open the door, I was not expecting what was about to happen next, and they started crying.
Oh.
And of course, I was wholly unprepared for this. And so I did like most normal people would, and I started crying too. You know, and I'm like, wow, okay. And they were so thankful, and you know, and I'm sitting there thinking, I wish I could have done more.
Right.
Right.
But I thought, you know, we did our due diligence. Yeah. It was one and done, and I didn't see what was coming for the next 7 years. But I walked out of the room, and the executive director for CASA said, Jamie, she said, we really appreciate what you did. You know, we have kids that have needs through the year, and like a lot of these kids are being shuffled from home to home.
Yeah.
They don't even own a backpack, they don't own a suitcase, they don't own a duffel bag.
Yeah.
A worker comes and says, get your things, they pack it in a suitcase or a pillowcase or a plastic bag, and it would be really great if we could give them some things that gave them their dignity in these moves.
Right.
And I hadn't planned on creating another show, but I'm like, well.
And that's where Serpent Stomp came from.
Well, no, Serpent Stomp was later.
Well,
Serpent Stomp was actually a vision before even this.
Okay.
But I went out and I said, okay, there's a need, we can meet it. Let's see what we can do.
Okay.
And so we created a concert called Voice for the Voiceless.
Okay. All right.
And you know, this one was really great. I mean, we had a lot more ears now perking up about the work that we were doing. And at that one, Lynn Hernandez came out.
Right.
Turbo came out. And you know, it was really neat to have the support of some of these guys that were really, you know, just they were names in our music community actually taking interest in what we were doing.
Yeah.
And I'm still extremely thankful for those guys being involved, especially in those early incarnations when I felt like the little pest knocking on everybody's door saying, hey, look at me.
And look where it's come today. It's, you're what, 7, 8 years into this now?
This would have been Not So Silent Night number 8.
Right.
You know, of course, everybody knows that we called it a day last year, but after 5,000 presents and 9 counties served, and, you know, we knew that things were starting to change a little bit.
Yeah.
We felt confident. But as far as, okay, December 10th is 8 years back in music. So it's been quite a ride. Serpent Stomp was a vision I had long ago.
Okay.
It was one of those things where I'm like, what if we could do this? And, you know, what would that look like? And of course, I have the benefit now of, you know, without name dropping too much, being friends with some of those guys that I used to call my heroes.
Yeah.
And so now it's a lot easier than scraping, hoping people sign up. All I have to do now is pick up the phone and say, let's do this.
Right.
And Serpent Stomp was really that simple. As I called my friends and I said,
and you thought you were done with it, but you're bringing something back next year.
I don't think Serpent Stomp is coming back this year. I said, barring any unforeseen circumstances, there is a friend that I have.
Okay.
Their family just went through a very significant trauma, if you will.
So you're choosing to focus more on the charity for the event now this time around.
I want to take, remember, it's all about taking what we have and giving it to somebody else.
Someone else, right.
They need medical expenses.
Okay.
You know, because I don't have express, you know, public permission from this family, I won't even say who it is.
Right.
But I'll just say that I was driving to church a few weeks ago, and I just really felt this impression in my spirit. Say, Jamie, I want you to drink there. And I said, okay.
Okay. Yeah.
And so that's in the works, even at the shelving of Serpent Stomp. So for now.
All right.
I wanted to come back, and it could. It's just got to be the right time.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right.
Next year's going to be big. Fast forward though, Far From Sanity dissipated. Well, I say that, but really how it all unfolded was us and our vocalist had a deferring path. And the vocalist left, the rest of us went on and formed 13 Minutes.
Okay.
Where does that name come from?
13 Minutes, you know, that's the number one question that we get. 13 is a fun number. Number one, 13 is a topic of conversation. People are like, oh, scary.
No.
Friday the 13th.
Just that was the day that the Knights Templar were excommunicated. That's it.
Yeah, superstitions. I mean, all kinds of stuff.
That's it.
Black Sabbath. Just all these funny things. So I'm like, well, okay.
Right.
I'm never one to shy away from a good conversation.
Let's just stir it up a little.
But, one of the things that we want to be known as is we want to be, when we walk into a place, we know, number one, not everybody's going to understand why we believe what we believe and why we do what we do. That is not a prerequisite. And really, at the end of the day, I don't lose a lot of sleep about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, shouldn't.
But the one thing that we want to do is we want to let you know that we are who we say we are.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Period.
All right.
I don't have to verbalize, hey, look at me, I'm a Christian.
I'm going to walk the walk and not talk the talk.
The talk will happen. It always does.
It always does.
Right.
But when we walk in, one of the things we challenge one another at is to meet people in their humanity.
Okay.
Not going with this agenda to proselytize and to convert people. I personally can't stand that. More on that later.
Yeah. We'll get there.
But when we walk in, we want, one of the greatest ways to impact a person is conversation. Mm-hmm. Our music is great. Our music opens doors.
Yeah.
But it's the conversation that lends to change. When people get to see you for you. And so 13 is a number that engages conversation.
Okay.
There's also a lot of other tidbits about it. We'll just go into people who love numerology. 6 is what? The number of what? 666.
It's the number of the beast,
It's the
right?
number of man.
Number of man.
The
Okay.
number of man. Okay? 6 plus 7. 7 is what?
13.
The number of God.
Number of God.
It's a perfect number.
It's 13.
So,
Right.
7 goes before 6.
You're blending one and the other to
Well, 6
equal.
is always going to follow 7. See, look at that.
Okay.
God always goes before.
Right.
7 plus 6 is 13. And 13 is the number indicating that God does what man cannot.
Okay. I like that.
So,
All right.
I like
it's
that.
all...
You heard it here first, because that's not an explanation that is readily given.
No, it's not. That's one aspect of it.
Nice.
Every 13 minutes, somebody in America commits suicide.
Huh.
As anybody that queues up any social media knows, we have a suicide epidemic that's unprecedented.
Yeah.
And we need to be reaching out to people. We need to be
Absolutely.
engaging people. We need to meet at our humanity.
Yeah.
This is not an agenda to convert people. This is a matter of loving people where they're at, and maybe, just maybe, their heart will open.
I wouldn't talk so much about your band, but actually, I want to talk a little more about this, if you don't mind.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm the son of a Pentecostal preacher. Been there, done that, right?
Yep.
But my whole life, got it. Understand what you're saying. I get you, but there's a but.
But
To be able to be a band in the 1990s, when DeGarmo and Key were like super popular, and so was Petra, and all of those other bands, and people were like, yeah, those are badass. They didn't know what they were talking about. They didn't realize that there's a message behind the music that was being really pushed.
there was.
Okay, it was to the point of commercialization, right?
There's an industry for me.
Today, post CCM, now all of a sudden you find bands like yourself that we have a message and we don't care what you think.
We really don't.
And you stand alone. And on top of that, you guys begin to rise to the cream of the crop, because not only is the music like super perfect, well, thank you, Kyle Simpson.
Kyle does help with that. Sean Browning from Rottweiler also helps with that.
All right, so they got help there, but yet the music is it's straight to you. The vocals are straight to you. You got lyric videos. I can read what you're saying. I don't have to disseminate,
Nope.
or try to read through deliverances, and we love you, Jimmy
You said
Brown.
Deliverance. Jimmy Brown's
I'll
awesome.
tell you,
Jimmy Brown is
and I became
awesome.
friends with Jimmy Brown on Facebook through this guy right here.
And
so Jimmy, we love it. I'm
Jimmy,
gonna tag Jimmy in this.
someday an interview for Chris. He
Yeah,
would just
he's coming. It's
he would
coming.
just die.
Oh my gosh, there's so
You
many
love
days
him,
in my
I know.
room. Anyway, but not only is there a market for it, but now you guys are taking that market to a different level. So what are you trying to do, and what do you want to do with that level of that you're beginning to achieve and have success in? Because you're standing among giants in the metal community in this scene alone. I'm not talking about abroad. I'm talking right here in town, right here at home in Tulsa. You guys are one of the premier metal bands, and I got Satanists, people that are confirmed worshiping Satanists that are like, that band's badass. You know what I mean? It has nothing to do with faith, but yet at the same time, you have a faith-centered message.
Mm-hmm.
So, is it just the music? What is it?
Well, I'll just say that there is a, are you familiar with Leah McHenry by any chance?
Yeah.
Okay. Leah runs a thing called the Savvy Musicians Academy, and so I love listening to Leah's insight. And she amazes me because she's a stay-at-home mom of 5 kiddos, making a living from her music, never touring.
That's wonderful.
I'm sitting there like, wow, okay? But she has a message for any band out there, and the first thing is you got to create a good product.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, I've been in bands where we were young and we wanted to get that demo out there so people could hear our music. And even with Far From Sanity, I mean, I go back and I'm like, God, we probably shouldn't release that stuff. So it's been a maturity at me as a business person.
Okay.
Not just a drummer, but a business person.
To set aside the musician aspect of it, yeah, it's a whole different side of things.
So when we made the switch to 13 minutes, we sat down, we had meetings, and we said, okay, what do we want to do? And one of those is we need to create a good product. Me and Aaron, we had been having conversations years before the switch about a lot of the elements that he and I enjoy. Melodies, hooks, things of that nature. So we knew all that was going to happen. We didn't want to release music too soon. Sean Browning wouldn't let me release music soon because I get excited. Like, I started hearing, when the first time I heard This Life, I was like, I can't believe that's us.
Yeah.
I want to tell the world. And he's like,
Shh. Yeah. Shh. Shh.
And then Kyle slaps my hand every time I say anything.
Oh yeah.
So.
Thank you for being a slave driver.
I know, right?
Because you are.
Well, for us also, there's another aspect of our Christianity, and that is called excellence. We believe if we're going to do something, we need to do it to the very best of our ability. That means that you invest into your art. That means you are patient in the process of its development.
Yeah.
That you think deeply about what's going to come out. That's where it started. Is a matter of wanting to give excellence to our Creator.
Oh, you mean actual, real Christian values?
Yeah.
Okay. Surprising.
The Scripture says, "Whatever you do it to the glory of God."
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
So, and really, for us,
really?
it was a no-brainer. We wanted to create an excellent product. Second to that, we also had to have a goal. Remember, I don't care about rock stardom. Okay?
No.
So that is not our goal. Our goal is to impact it and connect with people. So, how do you do that? Well, typically the stage is an open door. When we step on a stage, we have an opportunity. That opens doors to people. You got to get on those stages. How do you get on the stages? You got to have a good product.
Right.
Yeah. You do.
So you're seeing the faith and the business side move in parallel with
But
one
they don't
another.
have to be at odds.
They're not.
They don't have to be at odds at all.
And many times they aren't, if you have the requirements that it's taking to get there.
Right.
Well, you have to
The
also
product
understand that.
and, blah, blah, blah.
Well, there's another thing, a big thing that I've watched too many bands and put music up here and their family down here.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's a scripture that is a foundational scripture for everything we do. It's found in Psalms. Psalm 37:4 says, "Delight yourself in me, and I will give you the desires of your heart."
Yeah.
Well, what does that really mean? Well, in our faith, the family is the centerpiece of it all. Next to our relationship with God, the way I treat my wife, the care and concern I have for my wife.
Right.
the care and concern I have for my son, they are so much more than music.
Yeah.
And I have to keep it in the proper order.
And you know what? You display that too. And that's a beautiful thing because, you know, I'm scrolling through Facebook and I see, oh, there's Jamie and his wife, oh, his kid, like, love, and then, oh, something about your band.
Or a fart.
Or I farted,
Yeah.
right.
Because we have to have that.
But no, it's exemplified in your life and it's a beautiful thing.
Well, I know if we don't do that, and you know what, that
Nothing else
sometimes
comes above it, yeah.
well, that sometimes conflicts with what everybody says is the way to do it.
Yes.
Because you're supposed to
Right.
be all in, you're supposed to tour incessantly, and you're supposed to give up everything for this. And I'm like,
No.
this is not worth that.
No.
No.
And if this meant that, I'm taking that any day of the week.
Yeah.
But then again, it may not be that I need to tour the world and entertain millions of people. I may have 10,000 people that I need to reach for a specific purpose so that God can take that life and do something with it that He wants to.
Well, I challenge everybody with the question. Everybody that'll listen, this is what is success?
Mhm.
There's not a wrong answer to it.
There's not a wrong
It is
answer.
subjective.
It's
So when I hear I want to be successful, okay, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Here's the truth.
Transform someone's life.
Well, there's that, but
There's the base.
what if I hit the road and I go out and I preach to all these, I don't really preach, but I go out and give myself to all these people and I lose my wife and son in the process?
Mhm. Yeah.
There's an imbalance here. I gave up this for that.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, ask Lane Staley, was that worth it?
Nope.
Ask Scott Weiland, was that worth it? It's not. So honestly, I've had to ask myself, why do I want to play music? Here's the truth. I was an insecure kid. I was a kid who was made fun of. I was poor.
Were you fat?
No, I wasn't fat,
Okay.
but I was awkward. I was weird. I came from a really rough.
Yay, awkward.
So I
My
was.
favorite kind of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was the kid on the other side of the tracks. You know, we were so poor that we had to sometimes crap in a 5-gallon bucket because we couldn't afford plumbing. We were that poor, and so
All right.
I was an insecure kid. And when I saw these icons, if you will, I thought they got something I don't.
Yeah.
And my initial endeavor was to receive this. That's what I shot. That's what I saw. That's what I wanted.
Right.
I wanted to be validated.
Yeah.
Well, of course, the hope is that you grow. Today, I don't need validation from strangers,
Yeah.
so therefore I don't seek it.
Because your validation comes from on high.
I know who. Well, I heard this. If you insult a car, you ultimately insult the car's manufacturer.
Right.
When you insult yourself, you insult your creator.
Your creator, right.
And so I don't go around, I don't hang my head and hide my Christianity or anything of that nature. It's not necessary. I put people, I think, in a role that is, as I go out and I approach music, that I believe is missing from a lot of us. And it's a servant's heart. What can I do for you? Not what can you do for me?
Exactly.
When I go on stage, it's because it opens doors to hearts.
Yeah.
Funny story, when I was 12 years old, I lived over here in Rolling Hills, Catoosa. And I used to ride my bike around the neighborhood.
On the trailer park.
Like, dude,
I know where
that
is.
trailer park
I
right
know
there.
where it is.
I was there. That was my home. But I'd ride my bike around the neighborhood, and I rode by this house one day, and there's this music coming out, and it sounded so much like what I was listening to. And I'm like, wow, we have rock stars in our neighborhood. So I would find my way to this house every time I heard this music going on, and I'd park my bike on the other side of the block because I didn't want them to think I was like stalking or anything. So, but I'd hang out and I'd just listen. And then one day they came out of the house, and I'm like, oh my gosh, they're rock stars in our neighborhood because they looked like them too. Like I was like enthralled with the and my thought as a 12-year-old kid is if they would just see me.
Right.
If they would just talk to me,
Yeah.
it would be like gold.
I'd be it. Right.
Yeah.
Chances are they were just a local band.
Yeah.
I never knew, but I knew that if they would have just saw me, I didn't care about what label they were signed to. I didn't care what bands they
You were
performed with.
inspired.
You didn't care about the message there.
No, just if they would have talked to me that day,
Right.
I would have been like on cloud nine for the next few years because this band talked to me.
Right.
There's a lot of those 12-year-olds in our audience.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, here recently we played down at the Diamond. Great crowd reception. I mean, we played with Striper. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
That's like,
It's not a ballroom. Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that. It's got to be awesome.
Great reception. I mean, we had a great audience that was already built in that came out to support us. But we made a lot of new friends in the process. And I remember one parent came up to us and says, you know what, I brought my kiddo out here to see Striper to kind of relive those memories, you know, share this with my kiddo. I'm
Right.
glad you were here because you were her favorite band.
Oh.
That's awesome.
You know, and there was one kid that came up to me after one of our shows. He said, can I talk to you? I'm like, sure, dude, what's up, man? He's like, you know, and I give my message a lot. And he said, I need to share something. And I'm like, what's going on, dude? He says, I want to let you know that I was sexually abused. And I've never told anybody.
Yeah.
You know, this is a kid in his late teens now. I've never told anybody. But you inspired me. That's why we do music.
Yeah.
That's why we do music. And whatever comes out from that, well, that's what comes out.
Yeah. Yeah.
If that is big stages, if that is, you know, or if it's clubs, it is really irrelevant to me.
Right.
As long as we are being obedient to what we believe God has for us and wants us to do, that's as long as we stay.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Well, I understand a little bit more, but I want to know a little bit more.
Sure.
So, what are the challenges for a band that has the faith base that you do in this current scene? And I'm talking in our scene alone, not Oklahoma City or anywhere abroad, but
Here in Tulsa?
it really is about the same, because it seems there's a, you know, there are a lot of us, okay, and I'll put myself in the mix, because, you know, there's always the doubting Thomas, right? But there's a lot of us that always seem to, you know, have the doubts and have the this and that, or the anti-this or the anti-that. But when it really comes down to it, there's a lack of faith in the industry where 30, 40 years ago, it was inherent in people. They grew up having it in them.
Or postmodernism, dude.
Yeah, it's things have changed, you know. So, what are the challenges that a band for yourself, like 13 Minutes, have in today's music scene?
You know, there's an antagonistic, protagonistic pull where people say that if you're a Christian, you'll never succeed.
True. Untrue, but true.
And I get why they say that. There's also this idea.
Just point of note, Christian contemporary bands since 1989 are the most profitable bands in the entire industry. Suck it. So, go ahead.
All right. Well, okay, so we're here. You know, you're being told, well, if you don't do this and you don't do that, a lot of it goes back to touring. You're never going to make it. What is it?
Right.
If you're a Christian, you are seen as subpar in your artistry.
Yeah.
I get why. Because there's a lot of Christians who made really crappy music.
Yeah, bunch.
You know, subpar production, immature and not well crafted lyrics. I mean, I could go down.
Thank you, Sacred Cross.
So you know, being told because we do it a little differently, we're never gonna succeed. Bring it back to Tulsa. Believe it or not, I haven't had much issue in Tulsa. I think.
Really?
Well, perhaps it's because I really don't care what people think of my faith. I really don't.
Okay. So you're not personalizing the doubt.
No.
You're just
When I go home,
wash it off.
I go home to a wife who loves me.
Right.
I go home to a son that loves me.
Again, a family-centered thing that's above anything. It doesn't matter, right?
The brothers in my band are amazing dudes. I mean,
Yeah.
Mike and Aaron are. I mean, I don't honestly want to be in another band without those guys. I really don't.
Okay.
I'll tell you more on that in a minute with 13 minutes. But, I will say that Ryan and Roger have been amazing at promoting. I don't tell people to promote us as a Christian artist. I really don't. But you're going to pick it up. I mean, I am who I am. We are who we are. So,
Yeah.
But, I listened to Roger on this podcast the other day say, and none of this is anything that I've told him. This is all from, where he is. And he's saying, these guys, and I'm paraphrasing here, but will cause you to question your prejudices about what Christian music is.
Thank you. Good job, my little Ewok. I love you. Because that's the truth, though.
Well, it is.
It is.
I'm quite at the point where I want things to return to where I know they're never going to go back to the 80s and 90s like they used to,
Right.
where the vast majority of people that you talk to already had a centered faith no matter what it was,
Right.
Okay? And now, the majority of people that you meet, especially in the scene, don't have a faith-centered anything.
No.
They don't, it doesn't matter. It's of no consequence. So,
There's
to
a problem right there.
introduce that into their life is, the story of,
Well, think about what you
the
said there.
sower. It's just one seed, and I'm doing my job. It's someone else's job to come behind me.
And it could be that you may never see the harvest. But think about what you said, to introduce. We have a great and awesome responsibility, maybe, to be the first introduction of faith to people.
Right.
And people may not even realize that's what's happening. I mean, I'm thinking about some of the things
Most
you're
don't.
saying.
Yeah.
And you're at a show where you're intertwined with musicians that really aren't a faith-based group, let's say, okay? All kinds of genres or whatever. And the thing that's bringing people together is good music.
Mm-hmm.
And they may not even process that what they're listening to is
Something that may change your life.
and
Yeah.
even on a subliminal level.
Right.
And how beautiful is that happens, because like you said, it opens up conversations where you're like, well, tell me more about your music. And you're not preaching, but you're just simply stating,
What does this lyric mean?
This is
What
what
does
it
this
means to
allude
me.
to?
What
Right.
does it mean to you?
Right.
And that's what fans,
Yeah.
and I'm a fan, that's what fans want, is that they want to feel validated in how we perceive what the music is. And if we get on the same page, it's even better.
Right.
So it's like an awakening. I mean, that's how I view it.
Well, I go back to it. I'm a simple guy. It's like this. You meet people at their humanity.
Yep.
Which means their fallibility.
Well, not just that.
They
But
are what they are.
what do we all have? We have love, pain, hate, anger, sadness, joy. I don't care if you believe or you don't believe. You experience all those.
All of it, yep.
None of us are immune to any of that.
No.
So
We're
you
all the
meet,
same
you
in
meet
that
people
regard.
where they're at. And then I love the scripture. Jesus said, "Behold, I stand at the door and knock. And if you man open it up, I will come in." There's some active words here. I stand and I knock. I don't kick the door down.
He's waiting for permission.
If permission is opened up, then we proceed.
Yeah.
Then we'll open up the spiritual conversations. But if you don't want to talk about it, that's okay too.
Right.
Yeah. And not everybody's time is set in stone. I mean, not everybody comes to that realization as easily as other people do. It comes when it comes to you.
I'll give you a funny story. I always tell people that my marriage and being a dad have opened up more doors than anything else ever has been. And we do it non-verbally. I took my son to a concert several years back, and we were on intermission and between the bands, and we'd go outside and we'd hang out, because maybe 7 or 8 at this point in time.
Okay.
And so, being in a stuffy club type environment is not, always fun for an 8-year-old, but
Yeah.
we got to rock out together, and we'd go hang out. And, while we're out there, we'd just be hanging out doing our thing, and this guy comes up and he starts talking to us, and he starts sharing his story with us, and he's a former Marine, and, just kind of sharing his thoughts, and he goes, And then all of a sudden he pauses for a minute and he starts breaking down in tears. Because he wished his dad had spent more time with him.
Yeah.
This freaking Marine breaks down in tears because a father and son love one another and enjoy spending time together.
Yeah.
You never know when your actions are going to affect somebody. And
You're supposed to be a walking testimony, a living
Yeah.
testimony.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, when we do that, when we care for the relationships that God has entrusted us with, that forms the foundation for everything else to come. When I go out into the community, when I go out into the music scene, I'm not out there with an agenda. I'm out there because I'm a human being and I love people.
Yeah.
And we share a common interest in music. Enough said.
Well, and that is one of the reasons that, the last 2 years that we've had the Tulsa Music Awards, you've been nominated for the Achievement Award, and a source of other,
A lot
a
of
slew of
them.
other awards, and we hope we win this year. We don't
We'll see.
wanna win.
We'll say.
But nevertheless, I'm telling you, you are a walking example of really truly what having a band that has a faith means. You don't have to believe in the same God.
Yeah.
And that's fine. We'd like you to, but that doesn't matter. But as long as there is some base of faith in what you're doing, that's what matters.
Oh, God's greatest treasure is people.
Yeah.
It's people. And the whole reason I'm here in music today is people.
Yeah.
And more specifically, the whole reason I'm in metal music is the people.
Yeah.
There really is no other reason.
You're a light in the darkness, man. That's for sure.
Well, the way I've come up, all my experiences, for those who don't know, my upbringing is broken. My upbringing is full of there's abuse, addiction, poverty, homelessness. This was my upbringing. I watched my mom get the crap beat out of her repeatedly by the various people she would reside with. She was a single mom most of the time, trying to raise 3 of us on food stamps and working a minimum wage job.
Yeah.
There were days that we would wake up, we'd be woke up would be more of the better statement, being thrown out of our house by whatever guy was mad at her that night.
Right.
I mean, this was my life. This was my life. Drugs were a big part of the culture. Alcoholism was a big part of the culture. We didn't go to church. We didn't have that traditional, we went to church on Easter's and Christmas. We didn't have that.
Right.
My mom, her upbringing was through she was tossed out and led to the care of the state. So she wasn't given much of a chance, and it trickled. So I say all that not to get a pity trip, but to help people understand that this is not something that I just grew up with.
Yeah.
Jesus is a very, very
It was a long journey.
real.
Yeah.
He's real, and he's alive, and he's changed me, and because of his internal transformation into my spirit and my heart, by the grace of God, there go I. I don't usually get that preachy with people or that even open, but it's hard to understand where I am today if you don't understand a little bit about where I've been.
I get it.
Well, I think too that, a lot of people when they look at music, whatever genre it is, they think of it as the rock star life or the fame life or whatever, but really at its base level, it truly is being a servant, because you're providing something that inspires people, whether that's hope or whatever it is. And I just think that's important. It's a good way to, like you said, to get in with the people and be with the people, no matter what their faith is or what they believe. It's a way to connect with people, and you never know what one thing you might
What that
play
one connection
or
will lead to,
sing
right.
or do or talk after the show, like the examples you've shown about the Marine and the kids and all that. that one experience right there for that person may have been the changing point in their whole life. And how is that a bad thing?
It's not.
It's not a bad thing
It's not a bad thing.
at all.
Well, my belief is this: everybody's got a gift.
Yep.
Everybody. You're not here by accident.
Exactly.
I always tell people you're here on purpose, for purpose, and with purpose.
Yeah.
Everybody has a gift that they can use to better somebody else's life.
Yeah.
Whether you believe like me is not a prerequisite.
You're right.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's not a prerequisite to, as long as you have some belief that
Even if you are a
I'm here
Satanist,
for a certainty. Exactly.
if you're a Satanist or you don't believe you're an atheist, you know what? That is irrelevant to me to serve you.
Exactly.
And that's the humility and the unselfishness of the very act. You know?
Thank you.
It really is.
Thank you for really saying that. Okay, now, we're not going to make this long as all get out. But,
It already is, but
We could go on and on.
so, the next show that 13 Minutes has coming up is,
if all stays on schedule, and nothing else comes up that we can't say no to, April 13th
okay,
at the Vanguard. After 2.5 years, we're at 2 years right now of working on this disc. We're finally going to unleash it to our home crowd.
okay.
Love it.
The April CD release party. Because you've released single after single, and Kyle, you're a genius. I know with all the lyric videos that you're all involved in that.
Nope, Kyle didn't want us to do it.
Oh, really? Oh, that's so his MO.
I was like, why are you releasing music?
Why are you releasing? Oh, really?
Well, I blame that. Actually, I'll share a story. Sean Browning is the founder of Rottweiler Records, and
Okay.
Sean and I have a friendship now that we met back in 2014,
Okay.
and really, it's just kindred spirits. And honestly, he shot me down several times in submitting my music with our previous entity in Incarnation. He said that's not good enough.
Ouch.
He was right.
We'll do better. We'll do better.
Sorry.
But, you know, with Sean, when he finally pulled the trigger and said, okay, it's time, he said, this is the way I want to do this. He said, you know, me, I'm from the old school, man. You do a CD, you release a CD, you know, kind of thing.
Right.
He said, listen, nobody releases full lengths anymore, so we're not going to. He said, now I've been doing some homework and I've been looking at Kanye West. Like, all right.
Of all people. Okay.
He said he is releasing digital 45s. And if anybody is a little bit older, you understand what a 45 record
I
is.
do.
Where if you didn't have enough money to go buy a full tape,
You got the side and
you
the
got
side.
a little 45
That's
record
right.
with a popular song and a B-side.
That's right.
The B,
And
and sometimes the B too.
The B-sides are always great.
The
though.
B-sides
They're my
are great.
favorite. They're my favorite.
too, yeah.
Well, he said, this is what we're going to do, but we're going to go ahead and update it to new technology.
Okay.
And to get you guys on people's radar, we are going to release these intermittently as digital 45s and a B-side.
I love it.
And we're going to see how it works.
Okay.
We're going to see how it works.
And so far it's worked brilliant.
It's exceeded my expectations. It's opened up so many doors to, I mean, we're playing, by name we are what would be considered a relatively new band. And the opportunities that have been in front of us for a band our age have been very humbling.
Yeah.
A lot of it is because of what Sean Browning and Rottweiler set up for us. We didn't understand it. I said, Sean, I trust you, and so we're going to go with it. Plus, I'm a risk taker. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
Right.
We don't have anything to lose. Nobody really knows who 13 Minutes is now,
Right.
so let's give it a try.
Yeah.
And of course, Kyle's in there going, why are you doing this?
No.
No, this is stupid.
No.
And I was like, Kyle, hands off, bro. But I owe a great debt of gratitude to both Kyle and Sean. Here's the thing, and
This
this
does
is
a damn good job, man.
man, if I could tell bands, new bands, anything, young bands, is you don't do it by yourself.
Right. No.
Both those two guys right there have taken what we would consider raw ideas, and they brought them to life to what you hear. We went in, and Kyle even came up, he says, Jamie, he says, just create a skeleton. He said, don't get married to it, because we're going to change it anyway.
Right.
And so this was so new to me.
Give me something.
Well, yeah, but back in the day, you were on the clock as soon as you got to the studio.
I mean, it's a lot of
And I'm
money
like,
too.
have your stuff together.
$1,000 per song guy.
Yeah.
You got all the time in the world. Let's do
get
it
it
right.
right.
Exactly. And so he'd come in and we'd bring
I
our
love
ideas. Kyle would give us ideas. We'd send it off to Rottweiler. They'd shoot it back. Especially early on, they shot it back several times
Yeah.
because it would go through other levels, and before it would come back to us and change this, and this. So if I told you 13 minutes was just a brainchild of me and Aaron, I'd be a liar.
Right.
We've had a lot of help along the way.
Okay.
And so it's because of those guys that thought enough of us to help us take what was here
Yeah.
and bring it here. We wouldn't be sitting here having this conversation.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's awesome. No, and what was it? I will send you the support and the help along the way, as long as you do what I tell you to do.
Yeah.
You know,
That's what a label is.
and sometimes you don't even have to do what I tell you to do. Just believe what I tell you,
Yeah.
and I'll send whoever you need in your path. And it seems that the people that have been put and laid in your path have brought you to the level that you guys got an awesome reception at Halata Fest. And it was beautiful to see
was.
that all of these metal guys are like,
They're digging it.
dude, that was awesome.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm so happy. And I'm not happy just because it's like a victory. I'm not saying it in that way. But it is nice to see finally that there is a band out there that is a faith-based band that has a draw, and it's just to the music.
Yeah.
There's something through the music that is moving, and it, you know.
Well, remember back in
Praise
the day,
God.
Chris. How did you go and I have to give another shout out here, by the way. But when you picked up a record before the days of the internet, how did you
Okay.
pick it up?
I give it a
Start
shot
shaping peaches. That's
But
where I
yeah,
went.
why would you give it a shot? I mean, what about it drew you to that particular record?
because Jimmy Brown in Deliverance played with Tourniquet, so I went and picked up Tourniquet's album.
Yeah, that was a
You know,
popular
or
way.
the compilation albums that they had back in the day.
What
and
about
things like
like why did you pick up a Maiden album?
that. A Maiden album?
Yeah,
It was right along the same thing.
you see that artwork, right?
Yeah.
It's like, holy smokes, that is awesome.
But I was not a Maiden fan.
Well, but that's you
But I
go.
get
Something.
Album art was a thing of beauty.
The
for a lot
album
of
Really
art,
artists.
and then-
was.
yeah, and then
Really was.
it evolved into the music
Mhm.
concept of things. It's kind of along the
I
same
mean,
So
you know-
recommendations, artwork,
Yeah.
something that was appeasing to the eye, something that looked interesting.
Word of mouth really
Yeah.
boils down to it.
Fanzines.
There you go.
Yeah, I agree.
You were about to say something.
I think the artwork was a big thing for me anyway.
Back in the 80s, it was a big
You know,
thing.
Yeah.
you
Big,
don't
big
really
thing.
know what you want, but you want more music, and so you go into
Oh, that's
a
pretty
record
cool.
store, and you're like, that intrigues me.
Well, think
Yeah.
about one of the greatest
That's
album
badass.
covers of all time. I'll name off a couple. Appetite for Destruction. Still classic.
Yeah,
But I don't care, but look at the artwork.
just look at the artwork.
Okay.
Just artwork
I'll give
look.
you that. All
You know,
right.
whether you like the songs is irrelevant because you didn't know yet. You couldn't listen to it.
I don't.
When I was a kid, I loved ELO because I liked the whole idea of seeing that.
ELO's artwork was killer.
It was
Well,
killer.
think about Master of Puppets.
Yeah,
Okay.
Amazing art.
yeah.
Everybody calls the Misfits t-shirt bands. But the Misfits have one of the most iconic
Yeah.
in the Crimson Ghost
Yeah.
mascots of all time.
Branding.
Nobody cared what the Misfits sound like. Their early stuff was crap.
Yeah, it was.
But
yeah.
they had the Crimson Ghost artwork and that was just cool.
Yeah.
Well, we followed suit.
Okay.
All the artwork that you see was in there is spiritual thought behind every piece of work.
Okay.
But we also had a great artist in Andy Witten from Witten Custom Creative. He took these concepts of these songs and he crafted interesting work that we could put up.
Yeah.
And if you don't know who we are and you see that artwork, like, oh, this looks interesting.
Yeah. Tap on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So
We're gonna go ahead and get to it real quick. We got 3 important questions we want to ask Jamie. All right. First question: a band that you hate.
And this is like a national
Not a local band.
or worldwide.
yeah,
It's not local.
I couldn't talk local. I wouldn't
Yeah,
do
no.
All right.
We can't
National, a band that
Band
I
that you hate.
Hate's a really strong word.
If you
Well, I
don't
know,
like
I know, I
everything,
know.
like just something if it's on the radio
It's-
and you
it's
hear it
going
and you're
off.
like, you know what, no.
Five
I
Finger
gotta
Death
turn
Punch.
it. Okay, we get that one a lot, we really do.
You
We
know,
get that one a lot.
on one hand, I want to like him because
Sure.
the
Right.
songs are really
The songs are awesome.
sonically catchy. Then he starts
He starts singing,
I'm
it's
just
just
like,
over.
See,
Yeah,
mine
there you go.
is Guns N' Roses.
Sorry, Joe
because
Perry.
I can't stand Axl's voice.
Yeah.
It sounds like two crows having
When
sex.
he is singing
It's horrible.
November Rain or whatever that's called, and he's singing, I'm fine. No, when he does that, I don't like it. But when he's singing it softly and
so
sweetly,
what you're saying? He's probably didn't like Jackal or AC/DC.
now those are a little different. Jackal's probably close to the same. AC/DC, that was so embedded in my childhood that I
You
can't
love
not love
AC/DC,
them.
yeah.
I just, and it's all the same.
But
But
Five Finger Death Punch.
yeah,
All right.
Five Finger
Suck it, Joe Perry. That's 2 interviews
that's
in a row.
right. That's right.
I'm
You're out
sorry
of
you got that tattooed on you.
luck. Right?
Change their singer, I'll be all right.
Yeah. There you go.
I haven't moved.
Why is it always about the singer too? You know,
Well, he's the mouthpiece.
Yeah.
It's what you really hear. So, guilty pleasure.
All right.
I don't know if we caught that or not.
We can ask it again.
Okay.
the
So-
guilty pleasure.
Guilty pleasure, you're driving in the car, someone gets in and is like, really?
Ace of Base is definitely
I
going to
love
be
it.
that one thing that I might have to
I love
apologize for.
I saw the sign.
There you go. There was another one I used to like. It was
My
kind of in
mom
that same
loves
vein.
Ace of Base.
So great.
Dude,
I like Till Tuesday. Now that's from the 80s.
that's
but I
going in the
love
mid
Till
'90s,
Tuesday.
man. I mean,
Yeah,
it's a great time.
it was.
There's
It was
some
a great time.
Some interesting music.
That just cracks me up. All right, that's a good answer. 'Cause we
No
never
one's
had
ever
that
said
before.
that. No one's ever
Never
said
had
that.
All right, so what about theme song? You're walking out of your house in the morning. What's playing in the back of your
Get you
head?
going for the day.
Good God. You don't want to know what's up in my head.
Do we do?
You know, one of the bands I love to start my morning with is a band called Sleeping Giants.
Okay.
And they have a song called Tiffany. And if you've not heard it, cue it up,
Okay.
turn it up loud. That is usually running in my head when I leave my house in the morning.
Okay.
Love it. Love it.
All right. Good deal. So, but besides the upcoming stuff that you guys have, you're not probably going to have another show till April. What message do you want to portray to the Tulsa community? Because you are a very highly respected person amongst all of us.
Oh, thank you.
And it has nothing to do with the way you believe. It's the way you behave yourself.
Yeah.
It's the way you do your business and you go down the road. So I want you to leave us with that thought.
That thought, what do I want Tulsa and my circle to, what message do I want to leave them with?
Exactly.
Man, I am what I am. What you see is what you get. Everything that I've said here in this interview, I believe with everything that I am. I love people. I love Jesus. There's no compromise on that.
All right.
That's all there is to
That's
it.
it.
Yep.
All right.
I do have one thing I want to do before we close this. You had talked to me about something a while ago, and so I wanted to bring you a gift for your porch.
Oh. We love gifts. So I'm gonna.
This was from Not So Silent Night last year.
Oh my
Yay.
gosh, really?
So this is for the Porch Talk, signed by Soul Embraced, 13 Minutes, Ruby Wrath and the Rebel Hearts.
Really?
Yeah, this is for you. So, yeah.
That's
Thank you
And the
so
Weeping
much.
Gate. And the Weeping Gate. I had to think
That
about
is beautiful. We love our symbols. We love the symbols. That is one that Chris will probably hang over the bed.
Thank you, man.
He will hang it over the bed, I'm sure.
And I was even getting to the point where I'm like, I think I need to auction these parts off, and
No,
no,
that stays
no, I'm
with
just
us
gonna keep
forever.
them. I'm gonna keep them in my bedroom, and I'm gonna hang them up, and I'm just gonna love them. So it sucks to be
Thanks,
you,
Jamie.
America.
My pleasure.
Well, listen, we sincerely appreciate who you are. We appreciate what you are, but most of all, we love you.
And your music
And
is amazing.
Your music is,
Yeah.
it gets better.
And better and better.
And we've had the opportunity of being able to hear some
Got
stuff.
some sneak
on
peeks
the
tonight,
radio.
yes?
Yeah. Sneak peeks tonight, but sneak peeks for a long time.
Yeah.
The whole yard's time for a long time.
Once we get
And we just got done with Kyle. Here, what do you think? And I know Kyle's like, no,
We're not gonna tell,
don't tell.
but it's
Well,
amazing.
Our plan right now is to hold. We are in the process right now. A lot of people don't know this, but we are going forward as a 3-piece, and we're kind of hiring in bass players as we go. We're not really open auditioning anybody, so we're going to finish out our disc. We still got a lot of work I feel that needs to be done before the final product is ready. The goal with Rottweiler is to release it by March.
Okay.
And then we'll be looking at our CD release come April. One night here, one night in Oklahoma City.
Nice.
Okay.
And it's good because that'll be right before festival season comes. And we head out of town. It'll be, 14 months since we played Tulsa.
Wow.
Wow.
Since a lot of fest, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
Okay.
and we got the We Are Tulsa Music Awards. Let me plug that real quick.
Yes.
So,
Oh yeah. Porch Talk is a proud sponsor of the We Are Tulsa Music Awards, and on top of that, we have a perennial 2-year in a row nominee. You know, not only him, us, Mo, Mike, all of us the people that we hang out with, they're all involved in this stuff. So if you're not in, you guys got to get in, man.
Yeah,
get in with the cool kids
And let's
understand that it doesn't matter what you believe, it doesn't matter what you look like, it doesn't matter what you play.
it doesn't matter what you smell like.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Good hygiene.
I don't
people.
smell bad. I don't smell bad, but I don't smell good either.
Well, and I think people really need to embrace it for what it is.
I know
And-
you told me to take a shower today.
Okay.
Okay, I
The
get it.
awards, though, it's not about this. It's about let's bring our community together and just enjoy
all about
each
love.
other and support. Because one thing I have seen a lot of is that, you know, you've got bands who are nominated for like 5 or 6 different things, and they're like, you know what? Vote for my colleagues, if you will, because this is about supporting each other. And I think it's an amazing thing.
Vote for who you feel is best as everybody.
Exactly.
But what Roger and Ryan are doing together with this thing is amazing. Kelly is involved in that too,
Yeah.
so let me give her a shout out. But for their first event last year, it was amazing. I'm looking forward to seeing this at IDL because that's an incredible venue.
It is.
And all the things they learned from last year and they're bringing into this year, they're pretty smart cookies, so I think we're all going to be in for a treat.
I think we are too. I'm really looking forward to it.
I'm so excited. That's
I know. His like year has been made.
listen.
And
I
thank
guess-
you, Michelle. You know I love
We
you,
got-
sweetheart.
Twisted Glitter. We got the drum shop. I know
Yeah.
that Jamie and Roger are tight.
We love Roger.
The drum shop. We got We Are Tulsa Music Awards and WeAreTulsaMusic.com as a sponsor. Mugen. We
Teed
got
Up Printing.
Teed Up Printing.
Yep.
Misbehaving Music.
We
Can't
love
forget
you,
about
Ladonna.
Ladonna.
We
She's
love you,
yeah,
Ladonna.
big love to LaDonna. We got Warhorse Audio.
Mm-hmm.
We've got all kinds of people that are on our track and on our back. So get on it. What's your problem?
There you go.
All right. So this
Thanks,
has been a great interview. I want to thank
Thank you guys.
my brother Jamie for being here. And
Hug it out, buddy. Mwah.
we are huge fans of 13 Minutes.
Yes.
And if you haven't checked 13 Minutes out, you need to go visit their Facebook page. XIII.
That's important.
Okay.
Yes.
That's
Minutes.
called Roman numerals.
That's right.
Okay, XIII. That's 13 minutes. And once you get to XII, you're going to see it.
If you do
On
come out to
Facebook.
Facebook and say, I saw you on Porch Talk and I came to your page, we'll get you a free track in your hand.
All right.
There you go.
Way to go.
Free download.
All right.
Yep.
Well, that's free. You
It's
can't-
free.
you
Free is
can't-
free.
It's free.
So then if you don't do it, you're dumb. All right. So if you watch this and don't do it, you're dumb. Love you. Stay classy, Tulsa.